Look at that, enthusiastic here.
That's right.
Wow.
Well, it's super. It's super for a reason.
Anytime I can say super, I like it.
That's right.
Super duper.
Yeah, to all of our, did you see the wake up later? These are our wake up later viewers.
Yes.
Good boy. I'm sorry I just started yawning. You just really killed me with saying I was too enthusiastic, and then I was like, all right, I'll chill
I
out.
didn't say too, I said so enthusiastic.
Well,
Now it's time for a nap.
We're gonna answer any.
I'm spent.
We're gonna answer any questions you guys have about your polling location.
we'll try to.
Voting. Yes, we've got our very own
Wow.
political expert.
You know all the polling locations?
in studio.
He knows every.
Every single one. I've got it memorized up in here.
All you have to do is give me your first, your last name, your address, and I can find out.
There you go. Yeah.
Look at that, okay.
But if you text us, you know, we have that new feature. Then if you text the word vote, it's 704-329-3600. Then they send you the link and you can find it out quickly.
Yeah.
So.
Is this, and I haven't been yet, is that the new ballot box?
Yeah.
Is that it works?
Yeah, I voted on Saturday, and here
Did you have
here in
the
Mecklenburg
new-
County. Yeah, it's still relatively
We go show them?
self-explanatory.
Yeah.
It's still you push a screen and
Yes.
stuff like that. And it
Paper ballot comes out.
Yeah, a paper ballot comes back out at the end that has everything printed
So
out
it
there.
looked just like that. we
Yeah,
just saw.
it
So then you check it.
it's printed out. It's like the size, I'd say, of like
Yeah.
this when it comes out, and it has everything you voted for. So I mean,
Really?
if you're trying to keep it private, then turn it down because all your votes are right there. And then as you go to leave, you hand it to a guy who puts it in a machine, and then you are on your way. It was very easy, very painless.
When they put it in the machine, do you see something that pops up that says like Ben Thompson, blah blah blah? Or no?
No, I don't think so. No, it just the machine just takes it.
So they did the paper, where the paper printed out just as like a backup in
Yep.
case there was an issue with
Yep.
the machine.
So just to make sure everything like
The old-fashioned
equals out okay.
way.
But yeah, I've had somebody tweet me this morning saying they were having problems at precinct 121.
Where was that at?
I'm not sure where that is
South
in Charlotte.
Charlotte?
I think it might be South Charlotte.
I will look.
We can find out, yes.
So just be warned. They're new machines. There's probably going to be some kinks.
It's going to take a while to get used
It's
to that.
okay.
Yeah.
It's fine. Don't worry.
But
don't
they have so many
stress.
people working those polling places.
They
They always
really
do
do.
a great job.
They really do. Always great poll workers. It's always a pleasure meeting those folks. I went to the West Library, West Boulevard polling location on Saturday for early voting. It's almost like a party there.
It is.
It's so
They have a
festive.
good time.
It's so festive,
Yeah.
and the ladies are always so friendly. It was a good time.
I have to go because if I don't and they see me somewhere, you didn't show up.
I'm sure.
I said, okay, I'll be
I'm
there.
sure. I'm sure.
We
Matthews.
found out it's on, where was it again, Sarah? Pineville, Matthews Road?
Okay. All right. So
Yeah.
just heads
I
up. I'm
can't
sure,
find it.
I'm sure it will probably be one of several places that we're going to have some issues today, but hopefully everybody gets to
Super
to-
So they have a backup in place, right? If the
Yep.
machine said they're just going to straight to paper?
Yep. By the way, I had this conversation with Michael Dickerson. He's the head of elections here in Mecklenburg County a while ago, and he said, the whole idea of somebody tampering with the election or tampering
Yes.
with the results, he's like, is borderline impossible in Mecklenburg County. He said because there's no way to connect to any of the ballot boxes or any of the voting machines or anything like that because they're not connected to the internet.
That makes all the difference
until
in the
they all
world,
come
yeah.
back to him at his office. He has a very nice, swanky new secure counting room over at the Board of Elections where they do all of it. So according to him, at least,
Let me
it's all
ask you a
safe.
question once again about the new process.
Yeah.
It's in the computer, right?
Uh-huh.
Goes there first. Only as a backup do you have the paper.
Yes. Yes.
So they're not counting paper ballots.
The paper is the backup, and I think they might do both in the canvassing just to
So
make
to
sure
me,
everything's-
that's confusing though, because then you've got the vote that's already taken place,
yeah.
plus the paper ballot vote.
It's like, when you sign electronically a
No,
document.
listen, I get it. I'm not saying I'm
Yeah.
confused by it. I'm saying it could be confusing. I would be concerned that those votes would be counted twice. And I guess it doesn't matter if they're counted twice or if they're counted once.
Well, it does matter. You don't want them counted twice,
Yeah.
but I mean,
No, but it'd be the
Some
same.
people-
Yeah.
Well, if
If everybody's was
Oh,
counted
yeah.
twice, it'd be the same anyway, so it doesn't matter.
by the way, just to let you folks know at home, might have to leave a few minutes early because Eric Trump is actually coming by the station, and we're going to be interviewing him coming up in just a few minutes.
And
So-
you've asked people to go on your
yeah.
Facebook page?
Yeah, if you have any questions you'd like for me to ask that are civil and fair, let us know.
So he spent the night.
Yeah. Keep in mind, his wife is from North Carolina.
Yeah.
And of course they have the golf club
Yes.
up in Mooresville, which
Right.
I think
Up in Lake Norman.
Eric Trump himself has been the one of the Trumps that has been most involved in it. So,
that's in just a few minutes.
Yeah, that's just a
We
few
had
minutes. Let us know
the Secret
if you-
Service detail walking around.
I know, right? It's very serious.
Very fancy.
So
A couple things that you might need to know before you leave today and go to your polling location. They opened about an hour and a half ago, right?
Yep.
And they're going to close at 7:30 tonight. You basically just have to be in line. If you're in line at
By 7:30.
Yep.
legally you're allowed to still cast your vote.
Yep.
Even if there's a big line.
I can't remember
Yes.
the last time we had a problem with that, because
No.
voter turnout has not been, it's been good before, but not tremendously good. It's been years since I've had to wait in line to vote.
I mean, I worked in Columbus, Ohio during the presidential election with President Obama when he was first elected. And I always hear this, and I used to think, who has a problem with this? It was a huge issue. There were lines, and people were saying that because there were
were lines
people who were, waiting and waiting to vote, and they really wanted their vote to matter.
Yeah.
Yep.
And that is the rule, and it's a rule everywhere, that if you are in line, it doesn't matter if the line is wrapped around a building, you will get to vote. And I know that all the people who volunteer to work at these polling centers, we got to thank them.
They're fantastic.
It's a long day.
It's a very long day, and they're always so cheery, and they're
cheery.
willing to help.
Yeah.
And I was reminded, John Lewis, who's very, very sick at this point. There was a report on CNN, and clearly it's not our station, but I was watching it, and that's okay, about him walking across the bridge, the whole thing with the bridge and him being
In Selma.
and him being beaten just to get the right to vote. And seeing him so sick, he has cancer, and he hasn't been in the public for a long time. And him talking about, as sick as he is, him talking about how important it is for everyone to exercise their voice and their right to vote, and that it's something that he was willing to die for and didn't. It gave me chills seeing that, thinking, God, we take for granted so much in this country. At this point, our abilities
a good
are of
reminder.
our ability to vote. It was such a good reminder, and thinking about how when you do go to the polling places and you see the people they're usually older, who are there, and they are so cheery and so happy, and they're just so excited that to get people in there to be part of the process. So we want to thank
Like
all
a
those
12,
people.
15-hour day, so we salute all the poll
Thank you
workers.
guys so much, and such a good reminder to see John Lewis, to see we need to get in there and remember that this is a privilege we have.
I wonder what the turnout's supposed to be today. Have you heard?
probably low.
I mean, I haven't heard.
Especially
Normally
for
we talk about this.
I mean,
There's a discussion
although the
about it?
presidential primaries and presidential elections every 4 years
Are typically-
are the highest that
Well,
we
yeah,
typically
but I'm just
get.
saying this particular one. There's not been a lot of
yeah.
discussion about. We're expecting
And
20%,
also keep in mind
30%, whatever.
that the big race is the Democrats, but the Republicans, while unlike South Carolina, North Carolina does have a presidential primary. Weld is on the ticket as well. I think there's one or two
Oh, that's
others.
right.
So you can vote for another Republican than the president.
Not that it's
No, but it's there. But
Much
as
of a
far as
contest.
numbers, if you have a year where it's a new Democrat and a new Republican, and there's a contested primary in both cases, that's when you get a lot of turnout. Because if you're a Republican and the presidential race is your main race, you're not going to be as motivated to say a Democrat who really wants to see one of the four. Which by the way, there's more than four. But I feel like we've neglected to mention the fact that the race has completely changed.
Oh, yeah, we haven't even talked about that yet.
Overnight.
There's going to be a lot of people on the ballot when you vote today that are no longer running.
And
at
you know
this
what's
point.
very interesting? Speaking of running, if you're watching television, those commercials are still running.
Yeah, they are.
for people who are no
And-
longer in the
because they paid for it, and we get the money.
Yeah.
All the TV
So now
stations.
we have
It's just part of the
5.
deal. You don't cancel those. They're going to run because they signed a contract that they would
Yeah.
run those commercials.
Yep.
Okay, so here's the
5
interesting.
people left.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
here's the interesting thing about early voting. If you are one of those people who took advantage of the fact that you can vote early and you want to get it, that's great.
You may not
However,
think about this downside.
Yeah.
right. So I think that, I don't know how this would even be possible, but I would be upset and I'd say, I really want my voice to matter. But I already voted for someone, say, who's not, like in California, there are so many people there who's saying, wait a minute, we want to, because California has this year has like record early voting turnout. And a lot of if you didn't vote for someone who's even
If you
relevant
voted
anymore.
for Buttigieg, Steyer, Klobuchar.
That's in the
then-
primary only. On the
No,
normal
of
election,
course.
then it's okay.
But, you know, I still think it's one of those things that you need to consider
You
if
may
you
have.
vote
A lot of
early.
people may have voted for the one that's
If you're
not
going to
there.
vote
Yeah.
early, then, you know,
Chance you take.
it's a chance you take, unless you're going to pick, like, say, one of the two top contenders, which are still there, whether it's Bernie or Biden or Bloomberg or Elizabeth Warren.
Oh, and Bloomberg will be on.
This will also be Bloomberg's first test to see how well he does. The hundreds of millions of dollars he spent, does it pay off for him?
So today is such a big deal, obviously, because we're third when it comes like to Texas and California, the number of delegates, more than 1,300. So tomorrow morning, we're really going to have this better picture of
Much better picture.
who is going to be leading the pack here.
There's a list. Now, the numbers that correspond with the states are the delegates.
Right.
Keep in mind, we do not elect presidents. We elect delegates.
Which most people don't understand. We're voting for delegates.
Who then vote for the presidents. Now, they are bound in most cases to vote the way the state does proportionally.
And it's based on population?
It is.
But see, look at Texas, right? Texas is 228. Texas is humongous.
Yeah.
But we're not half the size of Texas. We're way less than half the size.
Yeah, Texas is like 30 million people, I think. Texas is a lot of people.
But we get 110. So
we get
that's
110.
the split up is always so confusing to me.
Don't complain.
I'm not complaining. I'm just saying I think it doesn't seem to be
It's the American way.
based on.
So
I don't know what it's based on.
Well,
to
in
be perfectly
California,
honest.
415.
there is
California's huge.
So there's a super complicated calculus in divvying up those 110. I think like 70 of them are based on congressional districts, and the more Democratic they are, the more delegates they get. It's very complicated. And then another 30 of them are based on statewide proportion of anybody who got 15% or higher.
Okay, and this is just for the Democrats.
Very complicated. Yeah,
So if you look
it
at the
is.
Republicans,
Yeah.
it's split up differently.
It is, but it's a similar sort of deal.
Which
But
is
yes,
so
this is
strange
very
to me,
different. This
right?
is all
Like
Democrats,
if you
yeah.
look at it's
Yeah.
difficult to wrap your mind around.
Speaking of wrapping your mind around things, we got
It is,
questions.
Larry.
I know on Friday
Yeah.
we did our whole text thing and people
Yeah.
were asking questions. What have you seen like the most of people wondering still?
I asked one today.
What was yours? What was yours?
Because I constantly hear
great. This is a
someone
great one.
saying at large, like this candidate or whatever, the seat at large. I
County
don't.
large.
Yeah.
So the Mecklenburg County, you're going to see it on your ballot if you vote in Mecklenburg County today. Same goes for City Council. There's a few seats on both that are at large. That means basically you're overall the entire. So
You don't
you're-
represent a particular area.
Yep,
particular
you
district.
represent Mecklenburg County as a whole, where the other seats on council and on commission are specific districts, like they represent, East Charlotte or they represent South Charlotte. There's a few. Pat Cotham is an example of somebody who's an at-large county commissioner.
So people who vote for at large are in the whole county.
Yep.
The people you can only vote for the specific district if you're in that district.
Precisely. Yep. Yep.
I always think of analogies in my head. I'm like, okay, so
Yeah.
a beat reporter or a general assignment reporter.
Yeah. And
True.
I've said this a million times on air and on here. Either message us or just Google, NC sample ballot, and you can go in there and you can put in your information and you can see exactly what your ballot's going to look like.
And then you take it with you. That's what I always do.
And then you can
Oh,
take
they
it
have
with
them
you.
there too if you want to look
Yeah,
at it.
and that
but
way
I always
you
fill it
can
out
go in.
beforehand, so I'm not confused.
We joke all the time. I host Flashpoint, a political affairs show, and there are a lot of people on that ballot I do not know.
Yeah, there's so many.
And you host the
and
show.
It's my job
There are
to
a
know
lot
these
of
people.
judges,
Yes.
district judges.
Yes.
Those are the ones that I know.
And the thing that's so interesting about all this is we don't understand that our votes matter, obviously. But so many times, and I'm guilty of it, we all are. We go in there, we don't know who these people are, so you vote based on, I like that name. And then you're actually like, this is, especially like a judge or something. These are people who decide our futures, our fate.
Okay, I'm going to throw out a name because I remember this name.
Yeah.
And I think she's running for attorney general. Muma.
Yeah, she's had
She
ads
is
on TV.
Blasted.
What is she?
Attorney general.
Yeah.
Is that okay?
Yeah.
But that's the name I remember.
But
And
do you
that's
know
what-
anything that-
That's why advertising is all about. I mean, if you have the
Name
budget,
recognition,
name
yeah.
recognition, you have maybe an unusual name like
Yeah.
Muma.
And the signs, like I've noticed that. Have you noticed this? That the signs have become much more
Oh yeah.
The Bloomberg
Colorful.
signs.
colorful and
Eye-catching.
with logos, so you remember.
On my way in this morning, the Bloomberg folks had like littered the streets around Uptown with signs, and we're talking about like in one quarter-mile patch, like probably 150 signs, just back to back. And I'm like, oh great, go for it, guys. You better pick those up tomorrow.
You always
Better pick those things up tomorrow.
But when you go to vote at the polling places, there's always representatives
Yep.
of the candidates, and you have to talk.
Yeah, and they have to be out a certain amount.
Right, you have to
me,
dodge 'em.
I don't mean this in a negative way, but it's like going through a gauntlet because they're going to go, "Hey, how you doing? Do they have a brochure? Who are you going to vote for?" And I go, "I have to be neutral." I would say I have to be neutral. I'm a television. I have to be neutral.
Yeah,
So
you do.
Kind of run it.
Do you know what's interesting to me is last night I was coming home from the airport because I had yesterday off, which was so nice, by the way. And there
glad you
were,
missed us.
I didn't at all. I actually was, I was actually talking to both of you, so
I know.
clearly I missed you. But it was a taste of what's to come because this is when President Trump was in town.
Yep.
And there were
Was it chaotic?
roads closed, police officers, and I thought to myself, this is for one visit. When the RNC is here in August,
Yeah.
I can.
City's
not
going to be
gonna be able to
shut
go
down.
anywhere.
It's going to be shut.
Yep.
When we do
down.
the DNC was here, part of Uptown.
Uptown
you
is
could
gonna
not
be-
go to. It was
yeah.
completely off limits.
Oh.
Yep.
And you will see what's fascinating about among the many fascinating things is the police enforcement from all over the country. You'll see
They're all
cops
here?
from every community in the United
Yep.
States.
So my question is, where are they going to stay?
They stay in
Hotels.
hotels.
Yep.
They've already
You know,
booked
the
their
Airbnbs.
And hotels around Uptown, but then stretching out several miles outside
have
of
to,
Uptown.
because it must be all booked.
And then they have to shuttle in. I tell you, there are some concerns about safety come the RNC that we did not have during the DNC. And safety, of course, was an issue there. And we had, to your point, a lot of law enforcement here, and we had laws passed, to address the protesters. But, I mean, the vitriol of the rhetoric these days is significantly different.
Hopefully it'll be quiet.
The protesters, you got to think the protesters are going to come out in huge numbers. It's going to be exciting for Charlotte, but I also think there are going to be some tough times.
Well, I think what makes this country so great is that everyone can have their say, and it's we are allowed to. And it's welcomed to
Just don't
voice
do it
your opinion.
violently, not
I'm just, that's what I was going to say. I just hope that everyone remembers to be respectful of each other. We are all Americans. We should not be afraid, and we shouldn't be doing things that make people worry about their safety.
Yeah. A couple of people
I think every
commented-
protesting is what we are. This country is founded on doing things
Vocal.
differently
Vocally
and being vocal, but not being violent.
in basically connection to what we were talking about with all the names and everything. Both these people, Drea and Walter, were saying that they skip that vote if they don't know what that person stands for,
Yeah.
or if they
Yeah.
didn't
Which
do their
makes sense,
research
yeah.
about, they don't pick. But anyway, so
That's probably smarter than me just looking and saying, "Oh, I like this person.
like the name.
I recognize their name," or
yeah.
Yeah.
Which you can. We talked about seeing the ballot beforehand. If you text vote to our number 704.
So you can do some
329
research.
3600, and you put in your information. It doesn't just give you your polling location. It gives you that ballot.
So say the number again.
704-329-3600.
Perfect.
Yeah, just save us as a
Call it.
contact.
There you go.
you know?
Don't call it. You text.
Yeah,
I was gonna
text
say,
vote.
Do not call it.
Yeah,
People
don't
at
call
the-
that number. That's,
Yeah, the desk will get
we'll
it.
get in trouble.
Well, you're going to be back in at 8 p.m. Is that what I heard?
because this is all of our big Facebook following. We'll be back doing the Facebook Live, and
Oh,
it's gonna be-
good.
it's going to be on everything else too as well, starting at 8 o'clock
We've
tonight.
set up a cot for Ben.
That's
Yeah,
right.
what are you doing? Are you
I'm
sleeping
gonna
here?
I'm going to sleep on the Charlotte Today couch. No, I'm not.
Very comfortable.
You might end up. Depends
Might,
on
you know,
when
who
you're
knows?
out.
Happy Super Tuesday. Go out and vote.
That's
Yes.
We'll
Bye,
see
guys.
you mañana.
Bye.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.